Alright, I am Ninja, and today we are going to talk about Dehaka. It's new this week. I'm sure there's plenty of people who have tried him out, especially since this weekend everyone is free. But I want to go over him with a little bit of detail, some things I've noticed with what I've been playing, and some things that might not have been caught by the naked eye. First things first, here he is. Big Ugly himself, Dehaka, the Primal Pack Leader. Start straight into his abilities. Drag, it's his Q. Skill Shot, stuns an enemy, and he controls where that enemy stands for almost 2 seconds. Dark Swarm, it deals damage around him periodically over 3 seconds. It's his only AoE ability, and so the timing of it is a little bit important. Burrow drops him into the ground, becoming invulnerable. He cannot be walked through while he's burrowed, so you gotta be careful on your positioning when you do it. And he becomes invulnerable, but he still has any effects on him that would still work, like stasis effects, like healing bonuses, like from passive health regeneration, or healing over time effects, like Malfurion's rejuvenation or something like that, or his essence collection, his passive. Every minion or hero that dies, enemy minion or hero that dies nearby him, will give him essence passively. Then he can activate it, so he actually has 4 actives to start with, to heal himself based off of how many stacks of essence he has. A very important thing to note is that there is a maximum of 50 essence. Essence Collection and Dark Swarm can both be cast during Drag and Burrow. One important thing to note, and I've noticed this while I was playing, is that Dark Swarm ceases to damage enemies if you cast Burrow while it is active. So if you're going to Dark Swarm and Burrow together, you want to cast Burrow first. So that's a little thing. Burrow and Drag both allow Essence Collection and Dark Swarm to be cast while they're going on. However, Drag and Burrow cannot be cast while the other one is going on. Isolation, his first of his 2 ultimates. It is a CC ult, much like Drag is a CC, so he actually has 2 single target CC abilities, which is also a skill shot, but it only hits heroes. Drag can hit minions. Isolation will silence, slow, and reduce vision of an enemy. This can be used for one of 2 ways. You can either use it to pick on a single hero by dragging that hero and then isolating it, or the other way around. Or, what I prefer to do is hit one hero with isolation, preferably a caster, and then drag somebody else, preferably an auto-attacker. Hitting an auto-attacker with isolation will do very little for you, because they can still hit you. They're not blinded. So that's something important to note. Adaptation is the second of his 2 ults. It's the one that I used less, but that's just because of the build I use. Over the course of 5 seconds, he heals himself for 60% of the damage he took. Now this can be used to mitigate a lot of damage, especially if you combine it with some other effects, healing over time effects. So he could potentially take all of his life and damage, but because of his healing over time effects and adaptation, he could recover the majority of it. So it is a very powerful ability if you're going into a team fight and your enemy team is not very bursty. Isolation is a little bit better for bursty teams. They're also for 2 different playstyles. Now, from what I can tell, there's 3 different ways to play Dehaka. and I'm going to try to go over them individually before I actually use him. The first one is high survivability. And I do something very strongly based off of this. There's two talents in Tier 1 that go towards that. There's either Enduring Swarm, which reduces ability damage while Dark Swarm is active. And then there's Tissue Regeneration. Now this one's a little bit more long game, and Enduring Swarm's a little bit short game, but they both have some pretty strong merits. Typically I go with Tissue Regeneration because I like permanent health regen. The two of the three ways involve survivability, being one is just all-out surviving without having to go to like a fountain that frequently. Or the other one is more hero-based, surviving a team fight. And Enduring Swarm goes a little bit more towards the team fight, and Tissue Regeneration is the overall, I'm just going to survive everything no matter what you throw at me. The third playstyle is very aggressive, and Enhanced Agility goes into that. Primal Aggression is, I think, a very wasted talent. Dealing bonus damage to minions and mercenaries is nice, however, with it being in line with these other talents and the overall lack of mercenary benefits that a lot of the specialists have, he's really not going to ever take that. Level 4. One that I expect to be very popular, I probably take it about a 50-50, is Lurker Strain. Once he leaves Burrow, he gets stealth for a few seconds. Now, of course, this is the same as other stealth. If he attacks, or he gets attacked, or is dealt damage, or deals damage, he becomes visible again. But it's 5 seconds of him moving around without necessarily being seen. Numbing Eruption, this one would be good in an upfront, assertive way. This is probably a little bit more survivability, like the super survivability. This is the upfront in your face, aggressive, I'm gonna kill everything, because you jump in on the enemy team, drop Burrow, you're invulnerable for a couple seconds, and then they're all slowed for a minute. Metaphorically speaking. 2 seconds. They're slowed. They feel it. One Who Collects and Hero Stalker are both trait talents, and neither of them really should be considered if you do not take Enhanced Agility or Tissue Regeneration. However, Hero Stalker is a really powerful talent for survivability, because for every enemy hero that dies, you as a result get 25 stacks of essence out of your 50. So killing 2 heroes, you can drop essence and get all of it back. But it also goes towards these two because you get bonus essence. You're gonna max these out faster. The One Who Collects is a rather lackluster talent. And the main reason why it's a lackluster talent is because if you take either one of these two, you really should have them maxed out by level 20 regardless. Unless you're getting really stomped or you're really stomping on the enemy, having either one of these two talents could be rather weak for these. But there is definitely more merit to Hero Stalker if you're stomping on your enemy team. If you're getting stomped, Lurker Strain's great because it gives you more escape. but again, that's playstyle more than anything else. Level 7, Symbiosis. I think pretty much regardless of which build you're going, Symbiosis is a great pick. Because Dark Swarm is the bulk of your damage, and Symbiosis really helps your damage then for Dark Swarm. Because it reduces its cooldown for each hero hit each one of the ticks. So, if you run into an enemy group, by the time Dark Swarm is done, you can probably pop it again. Essence Devourer is the super survival talent. Gathering regen globes also grants essence. So, killing the minion grants essence, and grabbing the regen or grants regeneration and essence. Pretty awesome. Feeding Frenzy. This is probably the better of the two drag talents. However, Constriction should not be ignored either, because it also increases the duration by about 25%, a little bit more than 25%, maybe 30%. Increases the duration by about 30%, and that's worth noting as well. But I still say Symbiosis is the best talent. His ultimates, I already talked about them, Isolation and Adaptation. Isolation is a great CC ability. Again, do not use it against auto attack heroes if you can avoid it. It's a skill shot, so mind your aim. Adaptation is great for super survival build. Level 13. This is the set of talents that I struggle with the most. Because there's two Z talents, and he doesn't mount, instead he does his burrow to anywhere in brush. Very similar to Abathur's burrow to any visible place on the map, but this has to be brush, but it doesn't have to be visible. There's Swift Pursuit, which increases move speed while you're in brushes, and for 2 seconds after you leave brush. This is very map specific. Because if you're in a wide open map that doesn't have a lot of low visibility and brush, smoke, whatever, this isn't going to do anything for you. But if you're spending a lot of time trying to gank and using that visibility stuff to your advantage, you know, it's move speed, which is something that he's lacking since he can't mount. And that's the same with enhanced agility. That's the only reason why it'd be worth considering. But enhanced agility is useless without one of these two talents to boost it, because it's a very slow game. Brush Stalker increases your move speed by 60% after decaying over 3 seconds. I really can't say that I recommend this talent, because it's got a 30-second cooldown, and it's a big move speed boost, but it only lasts 3 seconds, and it decays over 3 seconds. So it's a relatively weak speed boost. It's not going to get him very far, but if he needs to get a short distance from a brush very quickly for a map objective, you know, I guess I could see that being worthwhile. But even then, far and away over the other two is Whirling Dervish. Reduces the duration of stun, silence, slow roots while Dark Swarm is active by 50%. Whether you're being super aggressive against enemy heroes or if you are being more survival, this is the talent that you really want. Because any which way you're going to be fighting heroes for all three of his builds. It's going to happen, it's part of the game. Even if it wasn't part of the game, all three of his builds require him to kill heroes to some degree or participate in hero battles. And Whirling Dervish is just very important. Couple things to note though is that Brightwing's Polymorph is not reduced by the duration. And this also does not reduce the duration of burrow or anything like that, any stasis type effect. Only stun, silences, slows, and roots. But it's a very powerful talent nonetheless, considering the other two. So overall, level 13 is a little lackluster for Dehaka, but Whirling Dervish I think shows the most promise. Level 16. Paralyzing Enzymes is probably the strongest of the three talents, especially if you're going for the super assertive, because you're going to drag them to you, you're going to put them wherever you want, and then they're not going to be able to run away. The drag range is 20%. 20% is not very much. So Elongated Tongue, I really can't say is an impressive talent. Rapid Regeneration, 304 health over 2 seconds. I don't know what level that is considering it at. I think it's considering it at 16, but I can't say for certain. It's not a big quantity. It's more than nothing, though. So, like, if you find yourself constantly being low, or if you're getting hit a lot and you just need a little bit more health, rapid regeneration is the way. Also part of that super sturdy build. But Paralyzing Enzymes is probably the way to go overall. And then level 20. Well, Contagion is pretty cool. Contagion is basically like making Isolation become Wailing Arrow with a lesser range. And it's not a remote detonation, it's just whenever it impacts. I don't think it's quite as big of an area. So it makes it less effective than Wailing Arrow, except it still does the slow and reduced vision. But it's definitely an improvement over what Isolation is. Changes Survival. That's a pretty potent bonus. Again, you're probably not going to take Adaptation unless you're going for that super survival build, but it is a substantial. You're going to heal more than what you take. So if you're at 75% instead of at 100% going into damage, you're going to be back at full health. Apex Predator reduces the cooldown of Brush Stalker to nothing, and the cast time, it drops down by 25%. I think it's 25%. I don't think it decreases the emerge time, just the casting time. So that is nice because it allows you to jump across the map a lot faster. It's very good for the super aggressive. Contagion is good for the sturdy, but not like super survival build. Hardened Shield is nice because if you're going into a big team fight, you're going to need to be kind of tanky as Dehaka because he's a warrior, and that's what he does. Taking damage is going to be a big part of what he does, and his kit says he's going to take a lot of get a lot of healing out of what he does. So it's a good anti-burst talent. So yeah, that's Dehaka, and in a minute here I'm going to start up a video for playing him and show you basically how he feels and ranges and whatnot. Alright, well, that's Dehaka as his talents and whatnot.